I don't want you to miss out on having fun and celebrating and connecting with others, because if you are going with friends and grabbing ice cream or having pizza night or going out to eat, like, you should enjoy those things. Food is fuel, but food should also be fun.
Welcome to the High School Athlete Nutrition Podcast, where we chat about fueling your performance on and off the field, court, track, or pool. I'm your host, Stephanie Melitano, a registered sports dietitian who specializes in helping athletes optimize their performance with a strong fueling plan. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out, this podcast will provide you with specific strategies and practical tips to help you reach your performance goals. So join me as we explore the world of nutrition and learn to take your game to the next level.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the High School Athlete Nutrition Podcast, where I talk real-life strategies to help you fuel your performance, your recovery, and just to help you be a better, stronger athlete, stronger human. I'm Stephanie, your go-to sports dietitian and nutrition coach, and today's episode is one of my all-time favorites. If you have been here a while, you know the Q&A episodes are fun because I ask on Instagram, what do you want to know about? What can I answer for you? And you guys always deliver. You always share so many great questions. So today I tried to categorize them by like fuel, hydration, electrolytes, supplements, that sort of stuff. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can today, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a part 2. So let's jump into it and clear up some of the confusion and answer some of your questions. I want to start with some of the questions that were just about fueling basics. So how much protein do I need? Breakfast, just some simple strategies. So if you're only able to listen to this for a few minutes, you're getting some really good tips right from the jump. So the first question that came in is, how much protein do athletes really need in a day? And is it possible to get it without using protein powder? So this is a really good question, something I see a lot from athletes focusing on too much protein. We want to think about what each macronutrient does for the body. So protein is great for structure and adding and building muscle, building bone, and building that kind of infrastructure so that other nutrients can come on and build the bone or strengthen muscle and that sort of stuff. So protein's essential, but you don't want to forget about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates energize your body. They allow your muscles to contract and move, for you to jump and swim and propel and change directions and do all of those things that are essential for sport. Not to mention, carbohydrates also fuel your brain. And so if you want to be a great student athlete, or if you want to be focused on the field and make quick decisions, you have to have enough carbohydrates on board. And then you have fats, and fats are also really key for building bone density, making sure you have enough long-term or endurance energy, and then supporting your hormones and your growth and development. So you really need all three to come together. And I say all that to say that the focus on too much protein often fills you up and just doesn't leave room on your plate for those other macronutrients. And so we think about being realistic and finding balance. Most athletes are perfectly fine doing about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Larger athletes will need more, but that's about the size of your palm to your hand, kind of looking at how much protein do we really need. So if you're getting chicken or salmon or pork or beef on your plate at every meal, you're doing a really good job. And the between meals, if you're looking for somewhere between 5 and 15 grams of protein in a snack, which could be a yogurt drink or a cheese stick or some edamame, but you're looking to find variety and consistency within your protein, meaning a variety of fuel choices, but consistently choosing protein throughout the day, you will have no problem hitting your protein goals. But to answer the second half of that question of, do you need a protein powder? Not always. You're really thinking about how often are you relying on protein products, or these bonus proteins, as I typically call them. So if you're someone who's doing protein waffles and protein bars, protein shakes, protein powders, I'm going to challenge you to think outside the box and try to get back to whole foods as much as possible. Ideally, you're limiting these protein powders and shakes and the bonus proteins to 1, maybe 2 per day, depending on your growth and mass goals. But really looking at this is it's a supplement meant to supplement or add to your fueling plan. And we do that by just adding it little bits and not relying on it. Because when you're relying on protein powder, you're missing out on other nutrients like omega-3s from fish, or iron from beef, and B12 from beef. You're missing out on these other key nutrients by subbing whole foods out in a meal and plugging in a protein powder or a protein product. So It's not that you can't have them. They're incredibly convenient to have a protein shake and a banana after a session, or grabbing a protein bar as a snack when you're running between classes. Like, they're great. That's what they're meant for. They're meant to be handy and convenient, but not meant to be the foundation of your fueling plan. So hopefully that answers your question, but the key is looking for variety and consistency within your protein intake throughout the day. Question number 2 is from a parent. This parent says, my teen skips breakfast before early practices. How much does that actually affect her performance? This is a great question. And I see it all the time, especially now that I'm working with gymnasts, college athletes they're well into their school season now, and those early morning practices have come back. And so now we're thinking about, how do we get you fueled? And ideally, in an ideal world, you're waking up or having a recovery or a big meal 3 to 4 hours before you're hitting practice. Well, if you have an early practice at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., even 5 a.m. for some of my clients, you're not waking up at 2 a.m. to have breakfast. So how do you stay fueled? Simple. Look at simple carbohydrates, and it starts the night before. So when you have dinner, make sure you're having a lot of carbohydrates, a good amount of protein, and some color, fruits and vegetables at dinner, with a serving or 2 of fat. But then you want to make sure, this is key, that you're having a snack before bed. This is another chance to fill up that battery and give your muscles as much fuel as possible, so that your body can pack that fuel away for the next morning. So you're having a snack before bed, and then waking up as early as you can. If it's only 30 minutes or only 45 minutes, or I had a call with a college athlete today, and she was like, I try to roll out of bed and go to practice. I was like, okay, we'll work with that. But as early as you can, wake up before practice. Have something that's really carbohydrate based, because carbohydrates digest really quickly, and they're that quick energy that you need for practice. If you've been fasting all night and then you skip breakfast, or you skip that pre-practice snack, well, now your tank is running on empty, because all night your body has used the fuel that you had to rebuild and repair, and you're waking up with a low tank. We have to fill that tank up a little bit before practice. So if you're not eating right now, or you're uncomfortable eating that early in the morning, start small. We have to train your gut to level up, meaning maybe you're just grabbing a banana, or just a granola bar, or just one waffle with a little bit of peanut butter. You're starting really small and really simple. And then as you get more comfortable eating in the morning, that's when you can level up a little bit. And maybe it's 2 waffles with peanut butter, or a waffle with peanut butter and banana. You're adding more fuel in the morning. But the key here is only carbohydrates with a little bit of protein or fat. So like a little bit of peanut butter, a little bit of butter. We don't want to do too much with the protein or fat, because they digest slowly, which means that food will hang out longer in your stomach and may make you uncomfortable while you're training. But start small. But to answer that question, it can significantly impact your performance. If you're hungry and you're not paying attention on the field or in the pool, or your reaction times are slower, remember, practices are meant to become a stronger athlete. So if you're showing up to practice dehydrated and underfueled, you're not able to do well at practice, which means you're not as competitive as you could be on competition day. So take each opportunity to fuel really seriously. All right, this third question is a good one. What's the best thing to eat before a game or a meet if my nerves make eating really hard? Going back to the same concept of simple carbs, and not just any simple carbs that you are comfortable with. And this is another reason why it's so important to eat before practice and figure out what works for your body before practice. Because if you know that you can grab fruit snacks or applesauce or a specific granola bar or a Cliff Bar, or you have a specific go-to snack before practice, having that snack that you're comfortable with on competition day, before your game or your meet, can be really beneficial, because your body already knows it works for you. That can lower some game day anxiety in general. So it's really important to lean into things that you already know and make sure that they're quick digesting or simple carbohydrates. That's that key. Looking for easily digested food. We don't want a lot of protein here, and we don't want a lot of fat. The next few questions have to do with hydration and recovery, and just really preventing dehydration in general. But this parent says, does my athlete have to drink a sports drink? Is it really necessary, or is water enough? Another great question. When you're thinking about the hydration formula, it's not just fluids. There are 3 key components. One is fluids, or keeping hydrated. The second is carbohydrates, which help to pull that fluid into the muscle. And the third is the electrolyte that help to move that fluid around the body, specifically sodium, because that's what we lose when we sweat. And so if you have all 3 of those, that's the perfect combination. It doesn't need to come from a sports drink, though. Your athlete, if they have a practice that's about an hour or so, a salty pre-workout snack could be all they need. Maybe it's pretzels or goldfish or a cracker that has a little bit of salt on it with carbohydrate, and they're having some water. That's a perfect combination. But any training session that's longer than an hour, or if they're going to be in the heat or it's a double training session day, typically my recommendation is let's add some electrolyte during training too. And that can come from a variety of different fuel sources. It can be a snack. So if they're comfortable doing, a pretzel during practice or even applesauce, a little bit of sodium in there, that's great. But they can also look at sports drinks. There are plenty of powders and flavors and options out there to find one that works best for your athlete. But the key is to make sure that it has enough sodium and also not too much sodium. There are a variety of different brands, and they have sodium ranging from 120 to 1,000 milligrams per serving. And so it's being important to not overdo it either. And that can cause cramping. And honestly, that don't always taste the best. It's about finding what works best for you. So any training over 60 minutes, or if it's really hot, add in some electrolytes and a carbohydrate snack and some fluids. And to be honest, sports drink is they're the perfect combination of those three things. They have fluids, they have carbs, and they have electrolytes. So that's why they're often an easy grab versus grabbing water, a snack, and making sure it's a salty snack. So it's just about finding what works best for you. This question is, how soon should athletes eat after a workout, and what should that snack look like? Right after a workout, your goal is to kickstart your recovery as soon as possible. And you do have some time, you do have a window. But what I've seen is if athletes don't have their snack right after practice, they go home, they shower, they mosey around the house, they might be relaxing, stretching, they might not be hungry. And next thing you know, it's an hour or two before they've even had something to really fuel their muscles and get them ready for that next day of practice. So after training, we're not just looking for protein, but we're looking for a combination of protein and carbohydrates. We want to refuel with carbs and then rebuild that muscle with protein. Chocolate milk or a smoothie with some yogurt or protein powder are great options right after practice. Often, often athletes will tell me that they just aren't hungry after an intense practice, and that makes sense. When you're training really hard, it kind of blunts your hunger cues. That's totally normal. But just because you're not hungry as an athlete doesn't mean that you don't need a recovery snack. So this is where those liquid snacks can come in really handy. Whether it's a drinkable yogurt, a smoothie, or a chocolate milk, it's just enough to get them a little bit of fuel so that they can go home and stretch and recover and shower and then roll into dinner or lunch or that recovery meal right after practice. The final question today is one I'm really looking forward to answering. The question is it bad to have desserts or fast food if you're training hard? No. It's just about the timing. I was actually having this conversation with a D1 runner this morning, and she was sharing that she feels guilty if she has like a muffin or ice cream or something at the end of the day. She knows she can have it, like she has free will, but she does feel a little bit guilty about having that extra fuel. And here's the bottom line. As an athlete, you probably need the extra fuel. You need the carbohydrates, you need the fats, you need the calories, you need the energy. And so it's okay to have that dessert. It's not going to set you back. If you were relying on, desserts or fast food at every meal and every snack, that's when I would have a conversation with you and I'd be like, hey, let's find a time that's best for you to have these things, but let's add in some stronger protein, some stronger carbs, and some stronger fats most of the day. And then you can have these after practice. And that's the other key thing too, is depending on what you're choosing, you might not want to have a burger and fries right before practice. That's probably a better choice after practice. So the timing really matters, and then the quantity or how often you're having these fuel sources really, really matter. And I share this a lot with athletes, but like I love dessert. Like I have dessert every day. It's like my favorite. It's a whole other food group. It's my favorite thing. And so I don't want you to miss out on having fun and celebrating and connecting with others, because if you are going with friends and grabbing ice cream or having pizza night or going out to eat, like you should enjoy those things. Food is fuel, but food should also be fun. It's connection. It's building friendships. It's just bonding with others. It's so important that you're not cutting out food groups, but rather finding ways to include them in ways that also support your performance. So overall, really, really good question. I want to thank you for joining me today. I love these Q&As. There's actually a lot more to get into. So I'm going to do a Q&A part 2 for our next podcast. And we're going to dive into a little bit more about REDs and fuel timing and supplement choices because so many wonderful questions came in. If you have any questions still that I haven't touched on, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram or hop over to my website, nutritionrd.com, and send me a message. On my website, you can also find lots of free downloads. You have access to my course, so lots of good information on my website as well. And if you haven't joined my newsletter, it's a great place to get nutrition tips every single week. That is all found on my website at www.smnutritionrd.com. Until next time, athletes, happy fueling.